This is John with a Major League Baseball playoff race update as we go into the month of September. Calculations are from the free tool at playoffcomputer.appspot.com. In the American League, here are the latest odds for each team to make the playoffs. These are based on a coin flip probability of either team in a game winning and not weighted towards a quote-unquote better team. The Orioles just finished a homestand going 6-3 to keep barely ahead of the Rays, who have gone 13-4 since the 10th of August. Both of them are locks to make the playoffs, barring a calamity of titanic proportions. The Astros are the winner of the past few days, courtesy of sweeping the Red Sox, now up to an 88% chance. The Twins lost 2 of 3 to the Guardians, which of course was better than being swept, but sows just enough doubt to keep them up at night. The Mariners won 2 of 3 against the A's, but that one loss may have actually been big. The Rangers took 2 of 3 versus the Mets to keep hold of a wild card spot for now. The Blue Jays, still on the outside looking in, won 2 of 3 against the Nationals to keep pace and maintain their slightly worse than 50-50 chances. The Guardians, with that series victory over the Twins, kept their slim hopes alive. The Red Sox were the big losers of late and of the month, getting swept by the Astros and going 13-15 for August while everyone else was playing well. They now would need some divine intervention. The rest of the field has virtually no chance, except for the Royals and A's, who actually do have no chance. It looks like the likely number of wins needed to get a wild card spot is back up to 89. I have 2 teams listed as having realistically clinched a spot, meaning they only should need to play mildly pathetic baseball to attain that mark. The Orioles now travel to Arizona, LA for the Angels, and Boston. Unless they get swept in all 3 of those series, they will not have many cares. The Rays should only need to find around 7 more wins. They have the Guardians and Red Sox next, and they do have the hardest remaining schedule in the league, but they really shouldn't need to do much. Among those still needing to do work, the Mariners' schedule is about to take a dramatic turn after playing the Mets. We'll see if they built up enough of a buffer. Hanging right with them are the Astros and Rangers. All should just need to play around 500 to get in. One of them has a much easier path to do that I'll show in a second. The Blue Jays are going to need to take flight early and often. The Red Sox, Yankees, and Angels would need to get almost all the wins to even have a chance. In the AL Central, which is playing by different rules, it now looks like 83 wins is likely to be good enough. The Twins just need to play around 500, while the Guardians do have a tough task to try to make up the deficit. But they will have another chance to further cut into the lead with another series against the Twins after playing the Rays. Adding to the difficulty is that their remaining schedule is significantly harder than the Twins. And even with the lowered bar, the Tigers and White Sox are all but officially eliminated. Taking a closer look at the wildcard race, going out on a real big limb and assuming the Orioles and Rays make it in, and obviously somebody has to win the Central, which means there really are only 3 spots up left for grabs. The Mariners, currently leading the group, do have the hardest remaining schedule among the contenders. And like I mentioned, after the Mets, things get uglier with the Reds, Rays, Angels, Dodgers upcoming before finishing with Rangers, Astros, Rangers. All that is the perfect recipe for disaster and could be the foothold to the Blue Jays getting back into the mix. The Astros, on the other hand, have on paper the easiest remaining schedule. They do have those 3 against the Mariners and 3 left against the Rangers. Otherwise, they have 2 series against the Royals and 1 left with the A's to put on some bulk. The Rangers now play the Twins and then that big series against the Astros, then A's, and then what could be a huge series against the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are in the middle of their big chance, now have the Rockies, A's, and Royals. If they can do what they should do, that would make that Rangers series a possible decider. Here's the latest end of season projections from my strength of schedule formula and those from team rankings. Thanks to them as usual for letting me use their data. They're at teamrankings.com. As you can see, both sets only minor differences, with the Blue Jays just barely ending up out, but it certainly is doable if they snag an extra victory or two. Over in the National League, the Braves seem to be an unstoppable force on yet another winning streak and just beat the Dodgers in the first game of their series. The Dodgers, despite that loss, are still almost as locked into the postseason as the Braves. The Phillies took 2 of 3 from the Angels to maintain their perch above the flock and are approaching locked-in territory. The Brewers lost the last 2 of a set against the Cubs, but still have a 94% chance to drink champagne. That series victory did really help the Cubs' chances out, now at 72%. The Giants and Diamondbacks continue to swap the awards of big winner and big loser around. Giants have won 4 of 5 to get just above a 50-50 chance, while the Diamondbacks got swept by the Dodgers to drop down to a 35% chance. The Reds have lost 4 of 6 to fall down to 27%, but don't give up on them quite yet. More on that in a bit. The Marlins haven't won successive games in quite a while and are down to a 15% chance, which might even be optimistic. I'll delve into their situation later. Everybody else has the same chances as my Powerball numbers. It continues to look like 85 wins is the mark to aim for to get a wildcard spot. With that in mind, you can see that the Braves have realistically already clinched a spot, and the Dodgers could field a team of my fantasy football league mates and still likely get in. Things look fairly rosy for the Brewers, only needing to go around 11-18 to finish the year for at least a wild card. They do have the third easiest remaining schedule on paper, so that should be very doable. One more series against the Cubs to end the season, but it shouldn't have to come down to that if they play halfway decently until then. 7 games against the Cardinals and 3 against the Nationals should grease the wheels. The Phillies are in similar position, just needing to go around 11-18 as well. Then we have all the teams hovering around the wild card cutoff mark. The Cubs and Giants should just need to play around 500 ball, while the Diamondbacks, Reds, and particularly the Marlins have some work to do. The Padres, Nationals, Mets, Pirates, Cardinals, and Rockies can bring up their minor leaguers for playing time. Looking at the NL wildcard race, the Phillies have a nice lead, and while they don't have a cakewalk remaining schedule, it shouldn't present a barrier to entry. They have the Brewers and Padres next, then what will likely be the Marlins' last chance, and in the end finish with Mets, Pirates, Mets, just in case they still need some wins by then. Then things get interesting. We have essentially 5 teams playing for 2 spots. The Cubs among this group have the most games against others, so they are almost going to be the driving force in how this whole operation goes. They now play 4 against the Reds in Cincinnati, then host the Giants and Diamondbacks at home, and still have another series with the Diamondbacks later on. So if there is one team here that controls the destiny of all the others, it's the Cubs. The way the Giants have been playing is giving everyone whiplash. They're playing a series with the Padres right now, and then that big one against the Cubs. They still have 7 games left against the Rockies. I think that might almost be their most important games remaining. Need to probably win at least 5 of those. The Diamondbacks, not content to let the Giants provide the most amount of heart attacks to their respective fan bases, are 1 game back. Just got swept by the Dodgers and now play the Orioles. Have those huge 7 games against the Cubs coming up soon. Now for the Reds, they're now a game and a half back, but they have the easiest remaining schedule among the group. That huge 4-game series at home against the Cubs now, and then what is likely a tough matchup against the Mariners, but then Cardinals, Tigers, Mets, and finish Pirates, Guardians, Cardinals. Just based on opponents, keep an eye on them, especially with the teams above them having the potential to falter. And that brings us to the Marlins, 3 back. And there is almost no good news. It's a long 3 back. Here's their problem, or problems. Very similar to what the Red Sox had to face a week or so ago. First, the Marlins need to overtake 3 teams. They're probably too far back from the Phillies, meaning they are at the back of 5 teams playing for 2 spots. They have the hardest remaining schedule among the group, with the Reds ahead of them having the easiest remaining schedule. Lastly, all the teams in front of them have a good chunk of games that they play amongst each other, which makes it difficult to gain ground against multiple teams. If we look at the wins among the group, Cubs 71, Giants 70, Diamondbacks 69, Reds 69, and Marlins at 67. And then we say that among the games the Cubs, Giants, Diamondbacks, and Reds play each other, they all kind of roughly split those wins, which is what is statistically most likely. And then we give those teams all about what would be a semi-realistic, horrible finish, that they play 400 ball against others. We have what would be the Marlins' idea of perfection for win totals for the others, which comes out to them needing to go around 15 and 13 at the very bare minimum with a tough rest of season schedule and having everything going absolutely perfectly against those other teams. That's a hard dream to conjure up. They almost need one of those teams like the Cubs to basically knock out the others, but then that means for the Marlins that another spot gets locked up and they'd still need 3 teams to stumble while playing well on their own. It's still within the realm of realistic probability, or I wouldn't even be talking about it, but you can see it's not nearly as easy if they just have one team to worry about. Moving on, here's the National League projections from me and those from Team Rankings. Very similar again, and neither show much promise for the Marlins, but both sets show that last wildcard spot being effectively a toss-up between the Giants and Diamondbacks, with mine having the Reds right there as well. So the drama is nowhere near close to being over. That's it for now. Thanks again to TeamRankings.com. Again, my site is playoffcomputer.appspot.com. If you found this interesting, please do all the things that give me internet likes. If you really found it interesting and want to encourage my behavior, there's a couple options on the site, including going to the Playoff Computer page on buymeacoffee.com. Any amount is really appreciated. Enjoy your day.